The reality of unscripted television editing. Are you an editor who just landed your first reality show? Are you an assistant editor who is moving up to the edit chair? If so, I'm going to get you up to speed on editing unscripted television. Along the way, you'll discover many of the tips and tricks in the reality show editor's toolbox to turn you into a pro in no time. Hi, I'm Vince Roca, and I love reality TV. I love editing reality TV. I love watching reality TV. Some people hate reality TV. They say that stuff isn't real. I ask, is Modern Family real? Because reality TV may not be real, but it is really entertaining. Haters will say it's a bunch of people acting like idiots. TV was different in my day. The difference between Lucy and Wipeout is I Love Lucy is an active viewing experience. Wipeout, like all reality TV, is a passive viewing experience. A comedian once told me it's tough to get laughs at a free show, but when guests pay a cover, they invest in their entertainment and want to laugh. People want to feel smart and feel like their money was spent wisely, so they're more likely to laugh at things. With an active show like I Love Lucy, you sit down, face the TV, and consume the show. You invest in that show. Reality TV, on the other hand, is made for a scattered generation. A generation whose attention is split between a phone, a computer, gaming console, and a magazine. Reality TV is passive background entertainment. Because the viewer's attention is divided, reality shows have to resort to tactics like edits every 3 seconds, with occasional flashes sputtered in and wall-to-wall music track with sharp beats. All this chaos hopefully grabs the viewer away from that phone. Have you ever found yourself watching a show about ice road truckers or duck hunters when you don't own a gun or drive a Peterbilt? It's probably because of those flashy edits. But after we've grabbed your attention, we must keep it with interesting people and dazzling stories. Even with great characters and compelling stories, viewers may still feel like, this show is dumb. That perspective arises because reality shows repeat lots of information. There's a previously on this show, a coming up on this episode, and a next time on this show. This is done because they never know when you're going to look up from that phone. We need to capture that divided attention and bring you back up to speed quickly. Unfortunately, repetition can feel dumb. You're telling the viewer something they may already know. Therefore, they're smarter than the show. Therefore, the show is stupid. To make matters worse, just before the commercial break, there is an act-out tease with a coming up on. These teases are often very flashy and contain the juiciest bits to get the viewer to look up for the commercials. Before we go any further into act-outs, let's examine the differences between a traditional 2-hour movie and 1 hour of episodic television. A typical 2-hour movie follows a 3-act structure. The movie starts on a low and excitement builds to the break in Act 2 when our hero decides to take the journey. The journey now takes us to the midpoint where the hero is usually knocked down again. The hero rebuilds to the break into Act 3 when all hell breaks loose. The hero finally battles their way to a happy ending. A typical 1-hour show follows a 6-act structure. Each act builds to an act out with a tease or a cliffhanger, and finally to an overall cliffhanger at the end of the show, enticing you to watch the next episode. In comparing these two, a 2-hour movie piques your excitement and spikes your dopamine levels 4 times. On the other hand, a TV show will give you 12 dopamine spikes in the same 2-hour span. In addition to that, our TV heroes will be at various stages of achieving their goals. As one hero succeeds, another is at their midpoint. So there are even more dopamine spikes between those breaks. Have you ever balked at a 2-hour commitment to watch a movie, only to find yourself binge watching 6 hours of television? Act-outs are the reason why. The act break, or act out, is the most important element of any television program. It is closely related to the cliffhanger. However, the cliffhanger is designed to keep the audience intrigued to come back after months of hiatus. An act out needs to be tantalizing enough to keep eyeballs glued to the screen for the next few minutes. The act out is not only to keep you interested in the show, it's to grab your attention to watch the commercials. After a great season finale cliffhanger, the program gets shut off. But a great act out keeps the viewer engaged, and an engaged viewer watches the advertisements. After all, this is how we pay the bills. Act outs are often not real story points. These teasable moments are sometimes faked in the edit using exciting music to build tension, flashier cuts, and the tastiest of sound bites. Scripted television has the luxury of simply writing these act breaks into the story as a cliffhanger or an emotional whammy. The writer writes something dramatic for a character to do, and it's done. Unscripted or reality TV largely relies on what is shot in the field. These real events can often result in a restructure of the show. Say a character catches fire, as would happen in a scene I edited for Toy Makers.
As the Misfit Toys with Motors competition approaches, things are really heating up at the shop.
Are you kidding me?
But often in reality, the episode's overall timing and story point leaves us with scenes to act out with that are less than tantalizing. Take this one, for instance.
Here I come, ready? Yep. Roll on. There we go. Finally got that off. Just a matter of time. That was tough.
Not very thrilling, is it? But if we lop off the end, add some wild lines, we get something more exciting like this.
There we go. Here I come, ready? Yep. Roll on. Don't let it fall off. There we go. Oh, dang.
Granted, this isn't the most compelling scene in the world, but it works in a pinch. Another popular type of act out is the coming up on. In today's binge-watching fast-forward world, the coming up on is losing favor. A better approach is an attempt at a trailer that feels more integrated into the episode. Like this.
SEMA. It's the biggest automotive show on the planet. Over 2,500 vendors, 250,000 people attend it. Just to show up there and debut a car, that's a whole new level of wow. It's nerve-wracking.
One of the most important tools in the reality editor toolbox is frankenbiting. Frankenbiting at its extreme is taking pieces of a person's words and reassembling them to say something new. Often this is harmless and it's just used to deliver an explanation of what wasn't captured properly on set. Frankenbiting is usually just used to condense statements, make them cleaner and more concise. Here's an example.
So of course we got locked up, and they end up in the cell and in Panama in jail. And
so that's 11 seconds and it is way too long. All we really need him to say is, so of course we got locked up in jail in Panama. So let's examine this further. Okay, the first thing that we need is him saying, so of course we got locked up.
so of course we got locked up.
He ends the P and up here. We'll go to there. Drop that to our timeline. And then we need the word in.
And they end up in the cell and
Okay, we start clean before the word in. That's the end. Okay, now we need jail.
Jail.
Start in jail there, we mark it in.
Jail.
He says jail and, which that and, if you listen.
Jail and.
But that and we can combine with in, so let's find the L in jail. Right about there. So let's drop that down, and then now we need Panama, in Panama.
Up in the cell and in Panama. And
okay, drop that down, and let's hear how this sounds.
so of course we got locked up in jail in Panama. And
now you hear pops in there, audio pops.
we got locked up in jail in Panama.
So let's select the audio and add some 2-frame cross dissolves between there.
So of course we got locked up in jail in Panama. And
great. Now the only problem is we need to cover our edits. Let's cover it with some B-roll. And here it is.
So of course we got locked up in jail in Panama. And
now it's about 4 seconds long, which is 60% less, and it still conveys the same story. But sometimes you want to change the story. Listen to what he says in this clip.
I was a gun runner in Central America, and so I ended up in jail in Panama because I was drunk and some taxi driver tried to make us hit him, and so I got out and started shooting at the taxi driver, and I was getting ready for execution. It's, to me, life is do or die. I might seem harsh on people and hard on people, and I am, and I'm never going to be different because I demand your attention. You know, this isn't something that you might play at, you know, because I don't play at it, you know. So of course we got locked up in jail in Panama, and my first thought is I have to get out of here. And my cell partner was this gangster guy from California. He bought our way out because some of his associates had money or whatever. And I swore I would never do it in my life again. I figured that was the change, and that's when I decided to farm.
Could you hear the Frankenbites in there? I'm sure you heard some, but more importantly, what was your opinion of this guy? How did you feel about him? Now let's take a look at the original clip.
Yeah, when I went to South America, like I was drinking a lot of beer, and you know, just people I ran into, and I ran into this gangster guy from California. He was a gun runner in Central America, and he had a big car with diplomatic plates on it and all that. So I ended up in jail in Panama with this guy because he was drunk and I was driving his car, and some taxi driver tried to make us hit him because there was some liability there. And so this Jack guy gets out and starts shooting at the taxi driver, which was a blank gun. It wasn't a real gun, but so of course we got locked up, and they end up in the cell in Panama in jail, and I had no idea what was going to happen. My cell partner was getting ready for execution. That fellow was a Panamanian prisoner, and so the two everybody in together, yeah. And when I got out of there, when I said goodbye to Jack, you know, he bought our way out because he had money or whatever, or some of his associates did.
Did your opinion change? Is that a completely different story? Now let's take a look at how it was done.
I was a gun runner in Central America, and so I ended up in jail in Panama because I was drunk and some taxi driver tried to make us hit him, and so I got out and started shooting at the taxi driver, and I was getting ready for execution. It's, to me, life is do or die. I might seem harsh on people and hard on people, and I am, and I'm never going to be different because I demand your attention. You know, this isn't something that you might play at, you know, because I don't play at it, you know. So of course we got locked up in jail in Panama, and my first thought is I have to get out of here. And my cell partner was this gangster guy from California. He bought our way out because some of his associates had money or whatever. And I swore I would never do it in my life again. I figured that was the change, and that's when I decided to farm.
Frankenbiting isn't always about changing the words. Sometimes it's about changing the entire story. And even though you sometimes hear the Frankenbites, you assume it's just reality TV talk, removing the pauses, and you don't realize the entire story was completely changed. That being said, for the most part, we don't change stories that drastically. Frankenbiting is usually just used to fix problems, to take out the pauses, the ums and uhs. Here's an example from Survivor. Listen closely. When she says, "I found a legacy," that is stolen from her upcoming interview.
Can I tell you something I haven't told anybody?
I found a legacy advantage. So if I am still here on day 36, I will receive an advantage in the game.
If I had been voted out, I would have handed it to you. Because you were trying to help me. I told Ken about the legacy advantage because I wanted him to know that he can trust me. So I'm hoping that that bought me some more goodwill.
Now let's examine a template for a typical reality show. The two most common types of reality show are the standalone show and the serial. The standalone show has evergreen content and can be played in any episode order. The serial, on the other hand, has an overall season story arc where episodes must be played consecutively. Act 1 of a standalone show typically opens with a coming up on, followed by the show logo, then a commercial break. Act 1 of a serial reality show typically starts with a pre-on, then a dramatic scene, followed by the logo and a commercial break. Acts 2 through 6 of a show usually have the same structure. Each scene starts with generic B-roll, like a town or a city, followed by location-specific B-roll, like a house. Then we cut to the reality verte footage. Next we go to the interview. But usually before cutting to the interview, we see a reaction shot of the interviewee in reality. This connects the interview and gives the illusion that the interview is reflective thought.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I made eggs.
It's all right. I like this pizza instead, as long as the cheese isn't hard.
You know it's like 4 days old, right?
I think like day 6, the cheese starts getting hard. Everybody knows pizza's great for soaking up your bad decisions from the night before.
These scenes are then compiled into a 6 to 9 minute chunk with an act out tagged at the end to make up acts 2 through 6. Music and B-roll are the heart of a reality show. Music is used to bring all the elements, verte, interviews, and B-roll and make them feel like one cohesive piece. B-roll serves a few purposes. It can cover flaws, highlight elements, transition from day to night, become a travel montage, and in general just glitz things up. Here are some examples of how B-roll is used.
You hungry? I'm so sleepy, I don't know what to do with myself.
You excited?
No, I'm scared. I'm excited about the show tonight.
How was your rehearsal?
It was intense.
Finally, in a serial reality show, you will of course end with a cliffhanger.
Next time on Survivor. While a challenge
Left a little bit.
leaves the survivors spinning.
Sunday, getting dizzy now. Oh, he's spinning. Oh. Hey, medical.
You're not gonna let me die.
It's insane.
Here's a glossary of reality show terms to ensure you sound like a professional in no time. Unscripted means reality. Reality means unscripted. Pre-on is a previously on. Coming up on is a coming up on. Next on means next time on. An act out is the climax before the break. An act in is the first scene after the break. A reset, a re-rack, or a recap are all the same thing. There are quick few scenes, sometimes with voiceover, to bring the viewer back up to speed. A scene is the reality verite. Reality verite are the shots of what happened in reality. Commercial break, that's our sugar daddy. A voiceover, that's the narrator or voice of God that helps us convey lots of information in the shortest amount of time. What I'm doing right now. B-roll is B-roll shots taken with a secondary B-cam and usually don't have the main characters in it. Generic B-roll, evergreen shots that can be used anywhere. Location B-roll, identifiable characteristics of a town or an exterior shot of the building. EXT, exterior. INT, interior. EG, evergreen, means this content is always green grass and it can grow anywhere or fit into any episode. INTV, interview, usually sit down after the fact. OTF, on the fly interview, usually shot on location off to the side. ITM, in the moment interview, usually not reality, but a character explains what is happening in the moment. The character often breaks the fourth wall and talks to the camera in scene. RC, rough cut. FC, or final cut, that's usually your first export in the line of what's going to be many. Hopefully you've learned enough from this video to convince producers that you're the right choice for their next show. I'm Vince Roca, and I look forward to working with you on those shows. Thanks for watching.